I hate the lonely boy in the next class who wears hearing aids. Until the earthquake hits. The school hunk I had a crush on left me behind. Mark ran back. Protect me in your arms. Smashed with rubble and bleeding. His hearing aid was smashed. No more sound. Nancy. Can you like me more in the next life? This is the last sentence Mark left me. A cautious confession with a changed voice. In the end we couldn't escape. Both were buried under the ruins. Reborn back to before the earthquake. I kick the school hunk who came to see me on his shin bone. Run to find Mark next door. The boys in the class are annoying. Always trying to pair me and Mark together. After class. They saw the strawberry milk that Mark put on my desk this morning. It's like taking stimulants. They clapped their hands and shouted that Nancy and the deaf man were married. Nancy and the deaf man as a couple. In the past. I will definitely turn around and glare at them angrily. Then I hated Mark even more. This time. I stood up. Ignore them. Go outside the classroom. Frank, the school hunk, stopped me. He is tall and handsome. Standing in front of me, he looks like a melancholy Prince Charming. He comforted me, don't pay attention to them. They're just mean. I'm not crazy with starry eyes. Moved by this. But a slight smile. He raised his foot and kicked Frank's shin bone. A sudden kick. Then he was left holding his calf and breathing. I opened the window of the third shift next door. Call Mark inside. Come out soon. The students in class 3 all turned around to look at me. Like seeing a ghost. Mark, who was sitting in the back corner, looked up. There is surprise and confusion in the eyes. I looked at Mark who was sitting in the back corner of the classroom through the window. I feel like the noise in the corridor is fading away. All that was left was a thin and skinny young boy. He was wearing a blue and white school uniform. It couldn't be simpler. Even the edges of the school uniform were a little faded after washing. The slightly long hair covers the eyebrows a little. But still can see the handsome outline. He stood up. Opened the door and walked out. The tall figure stood in front of me. Turn your head away before meeting my gaze. As if he was sure I was playing a trick on him. I looked up at him. My heart aches as if someone pinched it hard. This is how I treated him in my previous life. I have a crush on the school hunk. Until one day, a classmate who was teased told me that the deaf person next door who wore a hearing aid liked me. Adolescence is a time of acute sensitivity. My dislike for Mark was evident. Strawberry milk in the drawer. Hand warmer. I threw it away without exception. I really don't know what's good for me. Right. But this is for him. When an earthquake occurs, the ground shakes. He was the only one who came to save me. He was hit by stones and his head was covered with blood. But he held me tightly in his arms. Eventually, the floor collapsed. We both fell into the ruins. Buried with only a little space left. He also held up his hands. Trying to stop the sliding stone slab. Don't let it hit me. Please let go. You will lose strength. My tears are flowing down my face. He has gentle eyes. Don't be afraid. I then noticed that the hearing aid on his ear had been broken at some point. I don't know if the blood is flowing from the ear or the head. Flowing down the slender neck into the collar. Dyed half of the school uniform red. His tone was gentle, like coaxing a child. But it changed. Hearing aid failure. He can't hear anything. Nancy. Can you like me more in the next life? That was the last thing I heard him say to me. A word of caution. Changed but gentle words. Sorry. I looked up at Mark. Emotional outburst. Tears fell to the ground. In Mark's confused eyes. I hugged his thin waist regardless. I leaned in his arms. Teenager's clean laundry soap smell. Familiar warmth. This life. I will let you live. We all have to survive. Live well. Nancy. Mark, what are you guys doing? Caught by the dean. He took us both to his office. Even threatened to call the parents. If you don't learn well at a young age. Learn to fall in love early. Are you worthy of your teachers and parents? The dean's saliva is about to spray on my face. Teacher. We are not. Mark next to him wanted to explain. I cut it off. I just like Mark. The dean was holding an enamel cup waiting for me to admit my mistake. The tea in my mouth sprayed out. I repeated that I like Mark. I turned to look at Mark. He looked at me in astonishment. In the blank space of being caught off guard by the confession. I like him. But. I just like him one-sidedly. We are not together yet. It will not affect learning. Maybe you have never seen a student as brave as me. The eyes of the teachers who were still working around me were all on me. But because I have good grades. Another monitor of the class. Mark has a special identity. He can't blame too much. Just waved and let us go. The dean warned me. If my grades fall out of the top 5 next time. He really called the parents. Get out of the office. Mark stood in front of me. Complex eyes. You like me? Yes. I answered without hesitation. Eyes curved with smile. Didn't you just say you think I'm disgusting? He lowered his eyes and didn't look at me. Did he lose a bet with someone and come to confess his love to me? He smiled self-deprecatingly. Stop playing tricks on me. Nancy. When I returned to my seat and was stunned. Looking at the date on the clock. I just remembered what day it is today. Just yesterday. When my female classmate and I were riding bicycles home. The classmate asked in surprise. Your tire is fixed. My tire was punctured by someone. But it was quietly repaired. She poked me with her elbow. Did Mark fix that smirk on your face? Definitely Frank. I mentioned it to him. I retorted. So Mark, do you like it or not? I feel upset. Straight to the point, I don't like it. I find him disgusting. I hope he goes away. As soon as the words fell, we bumped into him coming around the corner. Mark is also holding a bicycle. His lips were tight. Deep eyes. I guess you heard everything I said. Recalling everything, I grabbed my hair in frustration. Mark must think I'm crazy. He said he felt sick the day before. The next day she said she liked him. Why was I reborn on this day? Did you hear that Nancy confessed her love to Mark in front of the dean? Is she crazy? Who would like a deaf person who is not loved by his parents? The students were discussing. Until Frank came to me. His eyes are gentle. It made me feel nauseous. Nancy. Is it because I didn't accept your confession that you gave up on yourself? I said that my current priority is studying. Girls should love themselves. Cannot. What the hell are you farting on? What? No matter who I like, I can never like you. I only like Mark. I feel sick when I see you. I want to change my seat. No. I want to change classes. I can't stay even a second longer. After saying. I stood up. Start packing up. Frank always keeps an elegant smile on his face. It seems that he didn't curse out loud in order to protect his image. After a while, the veins on his forehead were pressed down. Ask if I have offended you in some way. You're gonna say that to me. I smiled. Rolled a huge eye. Originally. When disaster strikes, everyone flees. I don't blame him. But in my last life, I broke my leg while trying to save him before the earthquake. After I was injured, my deskmate Frank volunteered to take care of me. Unfortunately, an earthquake struck. During physical education class. There are only 2 of us left in the classroom. Frank is not just running out. He even closed the classroom door. Until I dragged my sick leg over to open the door. I found that the door frame has been deformed. Can't open. I recall him pulling away my hand that was holding his shirt. Even when I was told not to drag me down. The perfect image of him in my mind suddenly shattered. It turns out that everything is just his personality and the filter I added to him. I smile. I was blind when I liked you before. Never see you again. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. Transferred from class 1 to class 3, which has worse grades. A is divided into classes according to grades. The rate of class 3 getting more than one university is much lower than that of class 1. Even the students are more difficult to manage than those in class 1. When I was introduced by my homeroom teacher in front of all 3 classes of students, the students in the audience all widened their eyes. Teacher. Can I sit next to Mark? No one wants to sit next to Mark. Although he has an outstanding appearance. But he is a loner. The seat next to me is always empty. The head teacher coughed twice to suppress the students' booing. Nod. I walked down to the last row with my school bag on my back. Stopped next to Mark. Hello. We will be desk mates from now on. Mark pursed his lips and said nothing. I sat down by myself. Put away your school bag. I found that the table that hadn't been used for a long time was covered with dust. Just looking for wet wipes. A slender hand next to me handed over a pack of wet wipes. Rub. He is very frugal with words. After handing it to me, he lowered his head to look at his textbook. I arched my eyebrows. quietly approaching his hearing aids. Thanks. You are the best. Mark turned his face away. My ears seemed to itch. Nothing back to me. Mark. Mark. Take care of me. My head is on the table. Hair loose. Persistently harassing Mark. But he said nothing. Only taking notes of what the teacher says. It seems that I am still bothered by what happened yesterday. He still didn't say a word to me. My eyes fell on his notebook. It is said that the sound heard by hearing aids is distorted. So Mark's speed is also slower. Stop and remember one sentence at a time. I found that Mark's notes were incomplete. For example, when it comes to the extended knowledge of a certain theorem, the teacher's words are more complex and have a slight accent. Then Mark can't hear clearly. The recorded content is even wrong. I purse my lips. I feel heartache. We are now in the 3rd year of high school. Has he been living like this for all these years? After class, the mathematics representative handed out the test papers. Just send it to my desk. I saw Mark's test paper. The handwriting on it is elegant and neat. The handwriting reflects the person. The results are mediocre. I browsed. Found something wrong. Many answers are left blank. But everything written is correct. The overall sum is just enough. I was stunned. The paper in my hand was taken away by a slender hand like a bamboo. Meeting Mark's gaze. My intuition tells me. He did it on purpose. After school. I jumped on the back of Mark's bike. Mark didn't even turn his head. I grabbed his clothes. You take me home. To spend time with him. I asked the driver to bring me here today. Mark still didn't say a word to me. Neither getting off the bike nor riding it. We are stuck like this. Do you like him that much? Just then. A disgusting and pretentious voice sounded. Frank appeared with a shoulder bag and several of his followers. His eyes fell on my hand holding Mark's clothes. I laughed at you for being with me. I bought a bicycle on purpose. Now I'm looking at this pretty boy again. So I won't ride a bike. He is such a person who never learns from his scolding. I clenched my fist. Just about to open my mouth and continue to curse. Then I heard Mark's clear voice with unprecedented coldness saying, "Your skin is thicker than the corner of the city wall. Ordinary and confident. No wonder others look down on you." Puff. I couldn't help but cover my mouth and laugh out loud. Sorry. I usually don't laugh. Unless you can't help it. Being insulted in front of other students. Frank's face turned pale. Finally, he glared at the little follower who was trying to hold back his laughter behind him. Gone. At last he said, "Nancy. Don't go too far when you play hard to get. You will regret it." I whispered to him from behind, "Be careful not to get into a car accident and break your legs." Mark looked at me calmly. No words. Mark works part-time in a cafe. After arriving, he changed into his work uniform and started working. Start busy with today's orders. I was sitting in a coffee shop, bored. Working in a coffee shop is not easy. Finally, I waited until Mark's part-time job was over. I saw a sweet-looking girl again. Fashionably dressed girls talked to him. Mark leaned against the bar. He had a bad face towards me all day, but he smiled at her so vividly. I got furious. Walked over and held Mark's fingers. The girl was stunned. Just walked away. I can't show off yet. I saw Mark looking at me expressionlessly. He pulled his fingers out from between them. Nancy. What do you want to do? I have feelings too. Why do you trample on me just like you want? How can you expect to trample on me a second time? I was stunned. I have experienced the legendary feeling of abusing my husband. What does the crematorium mean? In the previous life, Mark heard what I said. He really didn't come near me for a long time. Even if you see me in public. Also avoid it as soon as possible. He is like a wounded clam. If attacked, it will immediately retract into its shell. Lock yourself up tightly. But if this is true, why did you come back to save me? Obviously everyone ran out at that time. Why did you save me? I stand still. Blinked. I blinked away the glitter on my eyelashes. It's okay. It's okay. My biggest characteristic is that I am thick-skinned. Even if Mark no longer likes me in this life. But I wish he was alive. Instead of getting your feet stuck in the ruins. Still holding me tightly. After this incident, I did stop for a few days. Even take leave at home. When I returned to class, the class's attention was focused on me. They thought I was just into Mark. I was rejected and transferred back to class 1. But the moment I saw Mark, I threw the notebook on the table. Declared arrogantly. This is the notes I sorted out at home a few days ago. I have proofread the content carefully. Now. You and I went to the same university. The crowd was shocked. No one understands what I say. Except Mark. He must think I'm crazy. The notes before and after my rebirth were all in the 3rd year of high school. Even before rebirth, there were only 2 months left before the college entrance examination. I ranked among the top 5 in the city in several mock exams. A guaranteed candidate for admission to Peking University or Tsinghua University. Now I ask Mark, a person with average grades, to get into Peking University and Tsinghua University. It's simply a fantasy. I looked up at the 300-day countdown to the college entrance examination. Be determined. Mark. Everything is in time. I changed my strategy. No longer expressing love to Mark anytime and anywhere. Instead, they kept a safe distance like a normal pair of classmates. Be polite. I tutor Mark normally. No unreasonable thoughts. I found that Mark is actually very smart. There is just a lack of good tutors. He has a flexible mind. Learn by analogy. 1 point is enough. Many types of difficult questions can be solved one by trying several times. I looked at Mark's chiseled profile. His eyes fell on his hearing aid again. I heard that Mark's acquired deafness was caused by a fever. Later, his parents divorced and he was raised by his uncle. I feel terrible when I think about this. I regret why I didn't treat him better in my previous life. Until I met his gaze. I bow my head. Pretend to concentrate on the questions. Mark's low laugh suddenly rang in my ears. Since I changed my strategy. He treats me much better. There is no previous avoidance. There was no subsequent estrangement. This is good, right? I suppressed the disappointment bubbling in my heart. You really don't like me now. He finished laughing. Then ask me. The wind is roaring outside the window. Send in some dust. In the sun, it seems like gold dust is shining and jumping. My heart beats like thunder. The handwriting is messy. I tucked the fallen hair behind my ears. I lowered my head and answered no, I don't like it anymore. Half a while. Mark nodded. I heard his answer. That's good. Double happiness. Final exam results are out. Mark's grades successfully ranked among the top 3 in the class. I still maintain the first place in the grade. Since these test papers are very similar to those in the previous life. The test results showed that the results were surprisingly good. Close to full score. The teachers even gathered in the office to discuss. Will I be the city's top scorer or even the provincial top scorer this year? I heard my teeth ache. Feeling stressed out. Future college entrance examination questions are unknown. College entrance examination results unknown. How could they expect so much from me? Besides, I found that the dishes Mark ordered in the cafeteria were too simple. In addition to the free seaweed egg drop soup. Just ordered 1 dish and rice. How can this be possible for a teenage boy? So I brought my own meals to school every day. I specially asked my aunt to put more meat in it. Afraid Mark would misunderstand. I said I was losing weight and couldn't finish it. I gave most of it to Mark. Mark wants to refuse. I quickly said that if you continue to eat like this, you will be malnourished sooner or later. How can you go to the same university with me? Mark laughed at me, and you going to the same university and then? The voice in my heart was originally going to be my boyfriend when I went to college. But when the words came to my lips, they suddenly turned into when I fall in love, I meet a scumbag. You can help me beat someone up. He nodded. I tasted a bite of braised pork and I won't fight. Call back yourself. Then he ignored me. Keep eating. I blinked. Did I say something wrong again? I don't like Frank anymore. The person with a broken leg in this life becomes him. When the news reached the grade. He's been admitted to the hospital. This time is even earlier than the previous life. 100 days of healing. It is impossible to say that I do not take pleasure in other people's misfortunes. So when a classmate from class 1 came to say that Frank wanted to see me, I didn't refuse. Glad to go. The smell of disinfectant is pungent. Looking at Frank lying on the hospital bed. 1 leg was in a plaster cast and was held high. Describe haggard and miserable. My mouth corners are harder to press than AK. Until he spoke. Are you relieved? This feels weird. With a faint nostalgia. And his next words proved my guess. I remember it all. Are you blaming me for not saving you? That's why I was so nice to that deaf guy. He is a broken jade. You are complete shit. He is 100 times better than you. I clenched my fist. I controlled my anger and didn't rush up to hit him. Frank coughed twice. I didn't get angry but laughed. I regretted it when I learned you were dead in my previous life. Fortunately, I came back in this life. Let me make it up to you, will you? We are a match made in heaven. Come back to me, Nancy. Haven't you always liked me? Doesn't it feel good to have your wish come true? I took 2 steps back. I was obsessed with Face in my previous life. The girl's hormones burst out and she regrets the affection she feels. I wish I could slap myself twice. Unfortunately, the car that broke my bones in my previous life didn't have the ability to kill him. You're dreaming. It's impossible in the next life. I thought Frank was crazy. Turn around and leave. As I walked down the hospital stairs. Saw Mark. How come you are here? I'm excited. Missing the step under my feet. I'm going straight downstairs. Mark caught me. I'm underneath it. Fell badly. But I didn't expect that I would sprain my foot in the end. Mark squatted down and held my ankle. Take a closer look. Probably a sprained bone. See a doctor. Simply processed. The doctor told me not to walk too much. Out of the hospital. When Mark squatted down with his back to me, I didn't understand what he was going to do. Come up. I hesitated for a moment. Arms around his neck. Mark carried me on his back steadily. Walking slowly on the path home. I stared at the little whirl on top of Mark's hair. When I think of my broken leg in my previous life. A rainy day. Drivers leave. Frank's whereabouts are unknown. I'm standing at the stairs. A boy wearing a mask and a hat came over. Carry me downstairs. He said nothing. Until his hat was blown to the ground by the wind. I haven't seen it yet. He picked up the hat and put it on again. Impression. I only remember the whirl on his head. It's him again. I put my face close to Mark's neck. His muscles visibly stiffened. And continued to walk forward as if nothing had happened. After rebirth, I often have nightmares. I keep dreaming about the earthquake. I remember Frank's words. I have no reason to panic. Mark. I had a very long dream. In my dream I like Frank. Even broke his leg for him. But he abandoned me in the earthquake. In the end, only you came to save me. Then what? Then we all died. Mark fell silent. I thought he was scared. I didn't expect him to speak. I'm thinking. You must have been scared. Just saw Frank. He dreamed this dream too. I don't know what he'll do next. I feel a little panic. Before I knew it, I had arrived home. Mark put me on the stone bench next to the flower bed. Stand in front of me. The wind blew up the hair on his forehead. But I want to know. You are abnormal these days. Is it because of the life-saving grace in the dream? I mistakenly thought you liked me. The boy's eyes are clear. With a piercing awe. I had a meal. No answer. Mark seemed a little disappointed. Turn around and leave. Actually. I bit my lower lip. Nail clippers into the flesh. Actually. I don't know what I like. I used to like Frank because everyone else liked him. I also tried to like. If you can't get it, you want to win over others. What does he actually have? Shallow, selfish, and arrogant. In that dream you came to save me. Maybe you thought it was a heart-pounding hallucination caused by the suspension bridge effect. But my heart tells me. I hold my heart. It beats at an abnormal frequency. It tells me. I like you. I miss you all the time every day. In the past, I was ignorant and fearless. Not afraid of expressing anything. But because of you. I'm scared. I'm afraid I'll hurt you again. I will pretend that I don't like you. Pretending not to want to get close to you. I don't know what happened to me. I lowered my head and rubbed my sore eyes. I feel that my remarks are childish and ridiculous. Quietly waiting for Mark's judgment. Stop crying. Mark's shoes fell within my sight. The slightly calloused palm holds my cheek. He lowered his head and came over. Kiss away the tears from my eyes. I don't like you crying. Frank is discharged from hospital. When I saw him again, he had removed the plaster on his leg. Chatting and laughing with classmates. But those eyes stared at me. It's like a hunter lying in ambush in the forest sees his prey. I secretly cursed that I was sick. Ignore him. Turn around and chat with Mark. We agreed to buy the new exercise papers together after school. Approaching the college entrance examination. I have basically finished all the test questions on the market, big and small. The past 10 years of real questions are almost worn out. That should be enough, right? I don't know why. I am much more nervous than Mark about the college entrance examination. Unknown future. The possibility of moving forward together into the future. I really don't want to let it go anymore. He ruffled my hair and said, "Don't worry. No matter what, I can't beat you." He arched his eyebrows. I still have the heart to joke. Since that kiss, our relationship has changed qualitatively. But the window paper between them has not been broken. In a sense, it is stagnant. 58 days left to the college entrance examination. The earthquake I waited for with bated breath did not come. I was relieved. Maybe my rebirth changed the trajectory of the world. Everything is different now. Until a break. My classmates and I bought snacks at the canteen. Suddenly, I felt an unusual earthquake. The Earth's crust seems to have a soul. In the roaring. A familiar feeling came over me. My heart is beating like crazy. Rest time. Most of the ones that can come out have come out. My eyes quickly scanned Mark's figure in the crowd. No. No. My steps are getting faster and faster. Suddenly grabbed the arm of a classmate from class 3. Where is Mark? The crowd is too chaotic. Everyone ran away screaming. I can't even remember the earthquake drills I usually do. The classmates shouted in panic. Mark pointed to the teaching building and was called by the teacher to the classroom on the top floor to sort out the papers. My legs subconsciously went limp. The body starts to act before the consciousness. Run in the opposite direction of the crowd. Panic faces everywhere. Overwhelmed. Like a flash of light, it flashed past my eyes. The earthquake in my previous life was swift and violent. The building collapsed in an instant. What should I do with Mark? What if he didn't get out? Panic takes over my mind. Until a strong arm grabbed mine. Nancy is back. You are crazy, come outside with us. I turned my head. It was the angry and panicked face of the head teacher. I couldn't make out what he was saying. Mark is still in there. I haven't finished my words. After a loud bang. The world is completely quiet. I followed the voice. Slowly turned back. The school building collapsed. Countless dust flew up. Reduced to dust. The world seemed to be in slow motion at this moment. When I wake up again. The first thing I saw was the pale ceiling. The second person I saw was the head teacher. He was sitting by my bed peeling an apple. When he saw me wake up, his eyes lit up in surprise. He put down the paring knife and came towards me. You woke up and the doctor said you fainted due to palpitations. I called your parents. They are on a business trip abroad. I bought a plane ticket and am heading here. Teacher. Where is Mark? I opened my mouth. The voice as hoarse as never before. The head teacher's eyes flickered. The corners of your lips slowly curved into a stiff arc. Your classmates are all very worried about you. My female classmates all told me to tell them as soon as you woke up. Do you want to see them? I stared at the head teacher. He was silent for a moment. Sigh, the search and rescue team is still looking for. But they said. Little hope. I've been buried for 24 hours. I know you have a good relationship. But some things can't be helped. We can only do our best and leave it to fate. After the head teacher left. I sit quietly on the bed. Stay still. Do you want to do it again? Still can't turn the tide? My eyes are empty. I only know that the tears are flowing. Drop by drop, the quilt on my body was soaked. The sound of footsteps. A pair of shoes stopped in front of me. Frank's voice came from above my head. A little bit of pity in the pride. Is it necessary to be so sad? Do you think that rebirth can change things so easily? Don't dream. Nancy. His voice changed. Become sticky and disgusting. Like a whisper between lovers. In the next few days, I will accompany you to take the college entrance examination. Then we went to college together. Fall in love. Is it good to get married and have children? It's your fault. I let my hair down. Explain. You made some moves. Right. Frank seemed to expect me to say this. The face is bright and open. Of course he dragged out the sound. Raised the volume. No. Can I control natural disasters, Nancy? I'm so sad when you say that to me. Because the teaching building is being rebuilt. We moved campus. Mark not found. The rescuers told us there was a possibility. Earthquake cracks the Earth's crust. Mark falls into the crack. When the earthquake subsides, the Earth's crust closes. So I can't find him. I don't know why. I was very calm when I received this news. The mind is clearer than ever before. Time passes day by day. I continue to brush questions as usual. Practice. In the new classroom. I still sit in the last row. The seat next to me is always empty. I go to school and come home normally. It seems like we are back to the days without Mark around. The atmosphere in the class is depressing. Everyone tacitly agreed not to mention Mark again. Like a taboo that cannot be touched. I'm busy doing the questions. The pen in my hand keeps. Until the day of the college entrance examination. I brought my student certificate, ID card and pen. Entering the examination room with the wish of 2 lives. Under the urging of the security guard. I looked outside the examination room. In addition to the waiting parents. Candidates running into the venue one after another. Just one glance. I walked inside. Very strange. Parents and teachers usually give the college entrance examination the key significance of a turning point in one's life. It seems that if you make a mistake, you will lose everything. But actually it comes down to pen. Just a few light papers. As the last bell rang. I put down my pen. The world is set. The college entrance examination is over. The results came out in the blink of an eye. I am the city champion. Provincial number 2. Only 2 points behind the first place. I think I have lived up to my long nights of studying and sorting out the wrong questions. The hardship of getting up early in the morning to memorize English words. Even if others privately say that I am crazy about studying. After seeing the results, I received a call from my class teacher congratulating me. He was so happy on the phone. I was overjoyed. I didn't expect that our class 3 could produce such a good student. Congratulations. My tone is calm. It seems that I am not the one who achieved such good results. Teacher. I can't forget. You have to take good care of yourself. The head teacher noticed my abnormality. He panicked. The tone becomes urgent. Don't do anything stupid. Mark. The phone is disconnected here. I packed my clothes. Arrange your clothes. I took something out of my arms. Walking on the road to the appointment. I thought a lot along the way. How do you want to explain this to your parents? But more of it is Mark. Since it failed. But after fulfilling your wish, you still have to take revenge, right? I can't let anyone sacrifice 2 lives for me in vain. It's a long road. Long and solemn. Just a few dozen meters away from the meeting point. An arm pulled me into the alley. Cover my mouth. The person in front of me looks thinner. The curved peach blossom eyes are full of youthful spirit. He leaned over to my ear and asked me if I had done anything stupid. Nancy. I'm back. Never thought about it. There is still a day to meet again. I didn't expect it. Trying to capture Mark's lips. Entangled. Never let go. Mark is back. I was sorting papers in the office. Mark said that he felt an unusual noise coming from the door. He went over and turned the doorknob only to find that the door was locked. I can't even open the window. Frank's face appeared outside the window. Distorted and stubborn face. He smiled with great contempt. Then turned and left. The earth is shaking. Fortunately, he took my words to heart. Carry a window breaker with you. Mark breaks the window glass. It bought me a lot of time to escape. Unfortunately, when I reached the 3rd floor, a fallen rock blocked my way. He gritted his teeth. A second before the collapse. Turned around and jumped down from the 3rd floor. Fine. The left hand is injured. Mark said so. I realized that his left hand was in a cast. His lips curved. Now. I can go to college with you. Mark fell into a long coma after being rescued. Collect surveillance after waking up. Contact the class teacher to block the message. Don't worry. Mark rubbed my red lips. Sly eyes. We have found evidence to arrest him. Frank is at the place where I agreed with him. Arrested by the police. Imprisoned on suspicion of intentional homicide. His college entrance examination results are invalid. The score that could have gotten me into a 985 university became a bubble. I heard he was acting crazy. Pretending to have mental problems to escape jail. He wanted to see me in the mental hospital. Accompanied by Mark. I saw him tied to a chair. He was tightly bound with straps. Frank with unshaven beard. Dark blue under eyes. Where is the former campus male god? The favorite look of thousands of girls. His eyes lit up the moment he saw me. Nancy. You came to rescue me, right? His next words shocked me. It turns out that his reborn soul came from 20 years after the earthquake. Mark and I died in the earthquake. Frank's life is unsatisfactory. Failed investment. Repeatedly hit a wall. He thought he was just a gifted kid who lost at the starting line. Blame others. Until excessive drinking leads to alcohol poisoning. He was reborn in the hospital. Frank originally thought he was rescued. Until I saw my 18-year-old face in the mirror. He wanted to find me first. The paranoid last 20 years made him think his failure was due to my death. He didn't get to hang out with the rich girl who was destined to help him rise to prominence. He came to me eagerly. He noticed something was wrong with me. I feel jealous after knowing that I like Mark. Stubbornly want to turn everything around. So he set his sights on Mark. He always believed. Mark is the stumbling block between him and me. Just get rid of Mark. He will definitely be able to lead an ideal life. Right. That's it. How am I inferior to this deaf person? I know the most promising leading stocks. Just 5 years later. As long as I invest all my money, I can turn my life around, Nancy. Isn't your family rich? You must help me. I don't want to be in debt and live in the basement anymore. You must help me. Looking at Frank in front of me, his eyes are full of bloodshot. Scarlet radical. I realized he was crazy in every sense of the word. At present. He will never come out in his lifetime. Frank's parents are worried. Half of my hair is white. The doctor in a white coat shook his head. To put it mildly, he may have schizophrenia symptoms. Can't distinguish between reality and fantasy. Electric shock therapy is recommended. The head teacher apologized to me because the situation was special and he was afraid that it would distract me and affect my personal safety. I just found out about Mark's grades. City ranked 5th. Save 30. This score is enough to get into University A. Now we can really go to the same university. Mark's results came out and the school went crazy. We started hanging banners and setting off firecrackers. Mark and I broke the school's record that had been stagnant for many years. Achieved unprecedented good results. At the class reunion, Mark and I held hands and received overwhelming cheers. Mark and I are already together. The classmates gathered around us and toasted with us. We are all adults. It's our first time drinking. A moment of enjoyment. Drunk and staggering. The incident of meeting a student from class 1, Frank, outside the box caused a sensation in the whole school. Then they met me and Mark. Unnatural eye contact. Smiled and apologized for the things I laughed at and made fun of. Mark smiled and put aside all grudges. Walked to the corner at the end of the corridor. Mark's arms pinned me against the wall. I just realized that his eyes were red and his eyes were a little blurry, as if he was drunk. His breath gradually became hot in my ears. I'm finally with you. I've been missing you for a long time. He bit the skin on the side of my neck gently. Bring a shudder. Nancy. Kiss me, please. I'm a little weak in the legs. Can't handle it. Close your eyes tightly. A light laugh came from above my head. Mark held me in his arms. Fine. We have a long way to go. This is the best ending. Mark extra. Mark had a long dream. He dreamed of the first day of high school freshman registration. A girl with a high ponytail and big eyes. A very cute girl with her hands on her hips. She stared with her beautiful almond eyes. Grab a boy. Say sorry to her. It turns out that the boy bumped into another girl and didn't even apologize. Even scolding the other party for not having eyes. She is amazing. Very powerful. I said bluntly that if you don't apologize, I will go to the principal. The boy finally apologized with a red face and walked away in shame. People around her said she was brave. Some people say that she has a bad temper and is willful and unruly. She ranked first in the freshman entrance exam. Her name is Nancy. She suddenly came into his sight. I don't know if it's a coincidence that Mark meets her in many places. Sometimes she squatted on the roadside and fed the pigeons with toast. Sometimes she used sausage to tease the puppy beside the school flower bed. She seems to lack common sense and can't take care of herself. I looked up at him. My heart aches as if someone pinched it hard. He thought he was hiding. Until I was seen. The rumors spread by her classmates obviously caused her a lot of trouble. He no longer sends. In fact, he missed one subject during the entrance exam because of a fever. I was assigned to the third shift. Final exam reclassification. But he finally chose to leave the answer sheet blank. Completely stay away. No more intersection. Until the news came that Nancy had a broken bone. Hesitation. Carry her on a rainy day. The rain was pouring down. The girl on his back tried her best to tilt the umbrella towards him. Cover yourself. He lowered his voice. Does everything need to have a result? Who can own the moon with love? He told himself this more than once. Until the earthquake was unexpected. He thought of Nancy still upstairs. Everyone ran out. Only he went against the crowd. A classmate grabbed his arm and asked him if he was crazy. But he still went. He has no hesitation. Hug his girl. The girl trembled. He said, "Don't be afraid. He is here."